of the most recognized sounds of the season is, of course, the sound of those bell ringers from the Salvation Army. But the organization does a lot more than ring its red kettle bells this season. Major Steve Morris is the area commander for the Salvation Army National Capital Area, and he's here today with a look at how you can be a part of the giving this year. Good to see you once again,
Thank you.
Major Morris.
Great to be here.
So the Red Kettle Drive in full swing?
Absolutely.
We hear the bells ringing outside the stores?
We kicked them off November 12th, and we'll continue to Christmas Eve.
And how is it going this year?
Actually, we're struggling a little bit, frankly. We're behind about 26% from where we need to be for goal. So a couple of days ago, we published that we would need $100,000 a day between now and Christmas Eve in order to cover our goal and our needs.
Wow, down a quarter.
Yeah.
What do you think is behind that?
We have a few less opportunities to be in front of places this year. I think that's a major piece. We're pushing to online and text giving and that sort of thing. So we're trying everything we can do. I think the reputation of the Army speaks for itself, but I think if we're not as visible, maybe, it's tougher for people to find us, perhaps.
Do you think that having bell ringers and red kettles outside stores is sort of the old way of giving, and maybe the new way is to get a tax deduction and a receipt in a check in the mail?
I think there's something to say for that, but 119-year tradition, my preference is not to just quit and walk away. Mm-hmm. And the other bit of that, I think, is it lends itself to the fabric of the community. I have an 8-year-old who's learning to give through the Christmas Kettle program. And I've had countless parents in the region talk to me about, you know, if that's not a way to teach our kids, I'm not sure. Online giving doesn't do that as much. Giving at work doesn't do that as much. And so I'm concerned about the next generation learning how to give back in a very traditional way.
Yeah, and especially, like you said, having the red kettle ringers out there, it's visual. It's there,
exactly
it's in your
right.
face, and you get a reminder all the time.
And I think a lot of people might think it's just sort of a PR bit, but we raised $1.3 million in the Washington region. Kettles through the kettle program, nickels, dimes, pennies, quarters, dollars, fives, all that. So
it adds up, doesn't it?
It sure does, quickly.
Tell us a little about the history of how this all started.
Well, interesting. 1891, an officer in San Francisco got really a crab pot, put it out at the wharf, and said, I want to feed people through this, because there were many homeless and hungry in that area. And so he collected money into the pot, went and bought the food, and created a stew that evening to begin feeding people. So it was literally the pot that collected the money that fed the people. So that began that tradition. We're in 222 countries now, and the Christmas kettle is recognizable around the world.
What a wonderful story.
It is.
That's a great history.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk a little bit about the Salvation Army itself.
Right.
How did the Salvation Army get started?
A gentleman by the name of William Booth, 1865, was a part of a Methodist church in England, and realized that there were people sleeping under the bridge. And so he went to figure out what causes people to be there, what the plight that brought them to that is, and realized that these were well-educated, some of them professional at some point, but just came on hard times. Mm-hmm. So he began a process of getting them soup, soap, and salvation in that order. And really, his intention was to get them back in mainstream community, get them involved. The Church of England at that time was not as receptive to that clientele as perhaps they could have been. And so he began worship services. And those are the people that went out and began collecting for the Salvation Army. So it's very grassroots oriented.
And it's in every community all across the country.
All across the world.
Now, and around here, right here in the D.C. area, we have a huge need.
Right.
People out there that need the services of the Salvation Army. Tell us more about that.
Well, I heard on the last segment about you having trouble paying your power bill, or not being warm enough in here. We help a lot of people with that in their homes, maybe not in a business, but that's a huge need. People, there's a lot of families. 25% of the families this year have come to us for the first time. That's a huge concern for us.
The economy has
they're making their way. I mean, they're able to pay their rent, for instance, but they're short on food. Can't quite make the utility bill. Christmas is a great opportunity for them to be engaged with us, because we want to make sure those children are valued and appreciated. And if a family can't quite do that, we think the community ought to rally around and help them do that.
So one of the best parts about giving to the Salvation Army is almost all of your dollar goes directly to the people that need it. And you look for those administrative costs and how much that gets eaten up. And it's a very cost-effective way of giving.
About 83 cents of every dollar goes right to programs. and 100% of the funds that are raised in a local community are spent in a local community. So there's no sort of national community foundation sort of thing. What money is raised here is spent right here to meet the needs in Greater Washington.
All right, give us your best pitch. Why should we be donating to the Red Kettle Drive this year?
We make a huge difference, and we're going to help 13,000 people in the region, 13,000 children, over 6,000 in in Washington itself, in the district. And last year, 83,000 people received some assistance from the Salvation Army in Greater Washington. So I think it's a valid way to assist and be involved and engaged in something that's tried and true.
Thanks for doing the great work.
My
Appreciate
pleasure.
that.
Thank
Major
you.
Steve Morris with the Salvation Army National Capital Area. Appreciate it. Good luck with the drive.
Thanks very much.